Hey guys, this is my 2007 Suzuki Boulevard M50. I just finished putting the engine in the bike and I wanted to go over a few issues I had, things I've learned, and hopefully things that can help you out. Also at the end of the video, I'm going to show some things that I've struggled with. So if you have any tips or suggestions, that would help me a lot. I bought the bike with a head gasket leak. It was leaking coolant from right here. So I got a good deal on it, but I had to remove the whole motor to repair it. Okay, first things first, getting the motor out. It's really not that tricky to get to the point to where you're ready to pull the engine out. You just have to undo everything, zip tie things out of the way, and then what you're gonna do is remove this crash bar, remove these two nuts. There's two more down on the left side of the bike and two more here. This frame will come out, making it so much easier. I've seen videos of people trying to install these engines with this frame in here. I don't even know if that's possible. So I don't have an engine jack for a motorcycle. I didn't want to go to Harbor Freight and buy one. But I do have a car jack. What I did is I got this under here, put that on there like that, and jacked it up. And that actually worked pretty well. Once you undo the engine bolts here, and you get it on the jack itself, it's gonna be a little unstable, so be careful if you're gonna do it this way. You definitely need to make sure it's balanced properly, and you also don't wanna damage the oil pan down below. So if you are gonna do it this way, just take your time with it. If you do have a motorcycle engine jack, I would recommend using that. Again, I just didn't want to use my money on that right now. The best way I've found to get this engine out and in is to simply drop it. Because there is this part right here that goes on the inside of this, and there's another one on that side, you have to get it perfectly in that spot. Down below is similar, but you have a little bit more room. So dropping it will be a lot easier than trying to go in and push it in this way, because you'll run into the frame on that side. Another tricky thing is the actual drive shaft. I decided to remove the rear wheel and the shaft assembly. It did make it easier, but I think you can do it with the wheel in. It's really not that difficult to remove it. But what you'll see is there's a U-joint in here, and you want to make sure that that is not interfering as you take the engine out. Putting it in is tricky, so whenever you're putting it in, what I did is I put it on the drive shaft first, and then as I got the engine close, I pulled it off the drive shaft and slipped it on to the engine about halfway on both, and then from there I was able to push it in. What you'll know if it's on, if you can push it in all the way. If it's not on, then it won't go in, and these bolts definitely will not line up. I'm not gonna lie to you, this throttle body was an absolute pain in the butt. Getting it off was difficult. It was very tight, so what I ended up doing was getting a long pry bar and sticking it right here underneath that little lip on the metal part and pulling it against the frame. The pry bar was starting to bend, but eventually it did pop off, and it wasn't a big deal. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the throttle body, especially these tubes, is they do say F for front and R for rear. So make sure you put them on the right one. Unlike me, I put the front on the back and could not get the throttle body in. Ended up breaking it trying to get it off, so I got some new ones on the way, but do be sure that those are cylinder specific. Another issue I had was with the timing chain and sprocket. So when I was putting the engine back together, I could not get the sprocket high enough to get inside the camshaft. It seemed like the chain was too tight or something. So what you need to do, and the Haynes manual does not do a very good job at explaining this, but there is a chain tensioner, and you do have to loosen the chain tensioner if you want to get that sprocket all the way up. What I ended up doing was taking a really long and narrow screwdriver and getting it down into the tensioner. There's a little trigger that you will push, and that will allow the spring to compress. So I used a pry bar, got in there and compressed that spring while I pulled the chain up, and that seemed to work really well. There's a special tool that you absolutely do not need to buy. Another big thing with the camshafts, so whenever you install the cams, it's gonna tell you to do the rear motor first, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna put it on RT, okay? Make sure that RT is on this mark right here or in the window, and that's gonna be top dead center for the rear. And the manual that I bought does not say this, but you're gonna keep it in top dead center for the rear when you do the front. Do not put it in top dead center for the front, because the issue I had was I did that. I put it on top dead center for the front and installed the cams, and the exhaust valve was touching the piston. So I had to go back in there and change it. Again, there's only one post I saw online that talked about that. The manual is not clear at all. So that is how you do it. The rear top dead center for both cylinders. I made a really big mistake that held me back for probably a week and a half. I removed the magneto, thinking that I needed to get to the chain sprocket underneath here. So I pulled this off with a puller. It was super tight, like crazy tight, and tried to get it back on. And when I did, I feel like I'm not able to get it on all the way. There's just a little bit of clearance with the flywheel. You can hear it moving back and forth. And I tightened that bolt down to 115. I even went a little further to 125 because I was thinking that's just a pressure thing. But if you guys have any idea how I can get this on all the way, it's the tapered crankshaft that I feel like is what's interfering with it. The thing about this magneto is everywhere I've seen online, all the forums and the manuals say you just put it on and tighten it. So I really don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I took the key out. I think it's called a Woodruff key or something. I took that out, put it back in. I cleaned the surface. I put lubricant on it. Not sure why it's not getting on there. Now the other issue that I had was this gasket material is absolutely rock solid. So a couple things that I've done is I went to the store and bought some of this gasket remover. This actually works pretty well. And it didn't really have much of an effect on the paint. I thought it would rip it off, but the paint seems okay. Also some goof off to get some of the adhesive off, but got a heat gun. And I also went to the store and bought some actual brass wheels that won't scratch up the material. And it works pretty well, but it's still on there pretty good. I mean, this is hours of scrubbing. So I don't think I've ever had a gasket this bad. If you guys have any suggestions on what I should be doing different, please let me know in the comments. Let me know if you did find any of this helpful. If I'm shooting in the right direction, this is my first video, so if you guys could show a little love, I would greatly appreciate that. Hope you have a good day. Peace out.